Hey, welcome to the New Home Insights podcast by John Burns Real Estate Consulting. I'm Dean Worley, your host. Each episode, we're going to bring you some of the best minds in the housing business talking about some fascinating topics or trend or innovation or issue, just like the one you're about to listen to. Enjoy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us here at the New Home Insights podcast. This is the John Burns Real Estate Consulting podcast about all things housing market. I'm your host, Dean Worley. Regular listeners to the podcast know that we love to understand the past and the present for almost any topic we tackle, but we are often doing that to really better understand the future. We're very kind of future forward looking here. Our topic today is something that is really all about the future. It's going to be 3D home printing. The technology is still pretty new, I think, but it's innovating at light speed, it seems, and it's very likely going to become a big part of the future of housing. To help us understand that future, we have Genji Nakata of Century Communities, one of the pioneers in 3D printed homes. Genji is the Executive Vice President of National Operations for Century, where he heads up national purchasing, construction services, architecture, customer relations, and land development. Genji, how are you doing?
Doing well, Dean. Thank you. Good afternoon, and thanks for having me on your podcast.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this. Why don't we start with, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do at Century, and we'll move right on into the topic.
Yeah, I've been at Century Communities for 5 years now. And as you just said, I head up our national purchasing, construction services, architecture, construction, customer relations, and land development teams. But honestly, enough about that. Let's talk about the revolutionary new homes in Mountain View Estates.
Oh, we'll get to Mountain View Estates. I want to start super basics. I think that a lot of folks are going to, not know a whole lot about 3D printed housing other than sort of just the very superficial ways. Oh, I guess, use a big old 3D printer and make a house. So let's start with kind of some questions about process. Let's start right from the beginning. Do you, Century Homes, do the printing yourself, or is this done by an outside firm, just the same way you'd hire subs to build your homes?
Yeah, no, Century Communities does not do the printing. Our partner, Diamond Age, is currently only printing the walls and drawing in the house. But starting in January, they will be delivering us full turnkey homes ready for sale.
January of 2023. So very, very near future. If you're listening to this right now, we're recording this just a little bit before Christmas. So very soon, by what Genji just said, they'll be delivering a full house. So let's talk about, let's go something super basic, honestly. What is the material that actually produces that house? I know it seems weird, like a weird question, but I was thinking about this, and what is it made of?
It's regular concrete, gravel, really? Concrete, sand, 3,000 PSI concrete that you typically, use in any other construction method.
For some reason, I thought it'd be some kind of special 3D printing concrete.
It's not. Like that. I believe some companies use a special concrete, but ours is standard concrete mix, which makes it readily available and really easy to find, source, and use.
Okay. So walk us through the basic process, just the basic technology. What do you're bringing a machine out there, or Diamond Age is, onto the site. Just kind of start us off with the basic process of how you do this 3D home on site, how it gets built.
Sure. Diamond Age's technology centers around a multifunction site-based robot. The robot is centrally controlled from a command center in the field that coordinates robotic and manual operations, kind of like an air traffic control tower. It's also important to note that Diamond Age's robot is different than the other on the market, as it has multiple tools that can attach to it. It's not just a print head that squirts out concrete. Diamond Age has 26 robotic tools in planning or production that do repetitive jobs like cutting, measuring, scanning, spraying, nailing, installing, injecting, setting trusses and windows, and a number of other jobs. Diamond Age's goal is to reduce the amount of labor it takes to build a house by 60%, thus significantly reducing the cost to build a home.
How much of it actually is literally printed? Is it like the kind of the frame, the internal walls? How much of that home winds up being, that finished product home winds up being 3D printed?
Yeah, all external and internal walls are 3D printed. So Diamond Age's process starts out with a foundation like any other build. Then they go in and they measure the foundation with a laser attached to the robot to do a best fit analysis on the existing slab. Next, they'll set the anchors and the post-tension cables for the walls in the slab before starting to print the walls. As the walls are printed, all the mechanicals are built into the walls as the concrete layers are stacked on top of one another. At top out, or when the walls get to full height, the mechanical chases are completed, walls are insulated by the robot, top plates are placed on top of the walls, and post-tension cables are tightened to make the walls incredibly strong. Wall plastering and finishing, along with painting and cabinet installation prep, happen next. Then the robot places the trusses on top of the walls, which is the current final operation of the robot. In the future, Diamond Age will have the robot build more of the roof and exterior finishes, but for now, the robot's just doing mostly the printing of the walls and installation and cutting.
A person is overseeing those robots, right? We said robots a lot. You're making me nervous. You have someone there to make sure the robots don't go insane like they do in documentaries I've seen.
No, that's exactly right. There's as I was kind of talking about the air traffic control tower, there is a on-site room which has 2 or 3 people in there controlling the robots.
Okay. Phew. I was worried just for a second there. Is there any kind of a hurdle to getting the subs, getting to trades, to mesh, to finish the rest of that home that is not manufactured by the 3D printing mechanism?
Not really. Actually, many mechanical trades actually find it easier to work on our Diamond Age homes as the conduits are already kind of pulled for them during the printing process. Also, early involvement in education has drastically lowered the bar for partnering with existing trades. In addition, our homes use off-the-shelf windows, doors, cabinet, fixtures, and HVAC systems. So it really hasn't been an issue.
So they're ready to go. They're used to, like you said, fitting the windows, things like that. They've done that, whether stick built or 3D printed. Their job's going to be more or less the same.
That's right. Really, it's the mechanicals that's different, and in reality, it's actually easier than traditionally built home.
Huh? How about weather issues? Do you have the same? Does 3D still, can it be sort of slowed down by wet weather, things like that, like stick built can be?
Honestly, we can build these homes almost anywhere. And the fact that we've been building these homes in Arizona the entire year, we've gone through freezing cold, incredible heat, the dust storms of Arizona. I mean, you name it, rainstorms, flood. We've gone through it this year and no issues.
That last one is key for in Arizona. What if you're doing this in Louisiana or Florida, where it's going to be a lot wetter? Would that slow things down, you think?
I don't think so. Once the gantries are set up, they're put on solid ground and they perform like any other trade would. Actually, I would say when it's super, super muddy, they can still print, whereas trades would have a hard time getting in and out of the site.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that right there. We'll talk about a little bit about the process in terms of the timing and the cost in just a minute. But just right there, being able to work through wet weather can make a big difference in some places. So let's start before we do costs and things like that. Let's start off with product, the actual finished product, that home, in a very general way. How is the quality different for 3D printed home from stick built? What are some key differences, whether they're better or worse?
The quality is amazing. I've walked 3 and 4 of these homes now. We actually have 6 that are complete. Concrete is more consistent. It's stronger. It can be more carefully controlled than lumber. It has better strength and performance characteristics. And our concrete composite wall panels have over 3 times the thermal mass as a stick frame wall, making it incredibly efficient to heat and cool. And incredibly quiet.
3 times. So I mean, that's that big of a difference in terms of is that really going to demonstrably lower your heating and cooling bills because of that level of installation?
It is. So just to get a little technical on you, an average 1,400 square foot house that's stick framed has about 40,000 pounds of thermal mass. The Diamond Age house has 140,000 pounds. And if you picture it, if you put a 2x4 and a concrete block in a freezer at 0 degrees, and then you put both of those 2 things outside in 100-degree weather, what do you think is going to get to 90 degrees first?
Yeah.
That concrete block is going to keep that cold or that heat or whatever it started out with for a significantly longer period of time than wood will. Or kind of to give you another analogy, if you have a glass of ice, if you have two glasses and one has one ice cube in it, and one you filled with water and froze the entire thing and put them both out in the sun, which glass do you think is going to melt quicker? And that's
The
how
one in
mass
the
works.
one in Phoenix, clearly, for
Yeah,
sure,
of course.
for sure. It's always the one in Phoenix, no matter what kind of glass you have. Does that greater mass, does that make it heavier? Is it literally a 3D house literally heavier than a stick built house?
It is.
You mentioned I interrupted you, by the way. What other kind of major differences might be in that quality and the product different from
Well, those
construction?
those concrete composite wall panels not only are have that thermal mass, it has probably twice the R value. It's like an R value of 38 versus 13. So they're incredibly efficient from that standpoint, and they're incredibly quiet. Dean, it's amazing when you're in these homes. You can essentially yell from one end of the house to the other, and you can hardly hear yourself. When you're in them, as far as outside noise is concerned, you don't hear car traffic, you don't hear your neighbors. It's incredibly quiet. It's pretty special.
That's a huge benefit in my mind. Are you saying that in a 3D printed house, no one can hear you scream? Is that's are we going to write a screenplay together and sell it to
Yeah,
Netflix?
maybe.
'Cause that sounds.
Maybe. I mean, honestly, the only weak point is the doors you put in the house, but it is significantly quieter than a standard built house.
So if you have good doors, good dual pane windows, you can shut out those super annoying neighbors who always seem to have that
That's
party
exactly right.
outside because they're rude. Sorry. Personal experience. The next biggest question you always hear about 3D printed is just like the variety, not just the quality of the house, like we're talking about here, but the look, the style, the features and finishes. Let's start with just a basic floor plan. How varied can 3D printed floor plans be?
They can be extremely variable. The technology allows for almost anything given normal structural engineering constraints.
Do you get a lot of this kind of pushback that, okay, these, you think of somehow like manufactured housing for whatever that's worth, or even offsite constructed housing as kind of pretty tight constraints in terms of the shapes and the kind of massing they can do and the kind of, especially the variety of the look and the elevation. Is that not the case? Is the sky the limit? Is the slate pretty blank here for 3D?
Yeah, I mean, we can currently build anything that's single story and fits inside a 38 by 85-foot building envelope. We can build up to a 10-foot plate height. And by this time next year, we should be able to build our first two-story home with all concrete composite walls.
We'll talk about that in a minute. I can't wait to get to Tuesday because that opens up lots of things. But given that you do have some restraints with respect to the building envelope, and you do have, for now, a single story constraint, does that kind of produce a built-in size constraint? What kind of home sizes are we going to see in 3D printed homes, at least in the near term?
Well, Mountain View Estates has 3 floor plans right now, 14, 16, and 1,900 approximately square feet, all single story, and they're all incredibly affordably priced.
Just go ahead and tell the folks at home. Mountain View Estates is one of your Phoenix area subdivisions that's about to come out. Tell us a little bit about that real quick.
It's a great community in Casa Grande overlooking the mountains. That's why we call it Mountain View Estates. As I said, 3 floor plans from 14 to 1,900 square feet, and they all start in the high $200,000 range. So we're super excited to bring these homes to market.
That's remarkable. Now, if just your guess, you don't have to give us any inside scoop here, but for a similar stick-built home, what would you expect that to be priced given the same like-to-like with Mountain View Estates?
It's probably going to be priced pretty similar, which we're really excited about. You get all the advantages of a composite concrete wall panels and in a 3D printed home, and you're paying the same price. So as far as direct costs are concerned or build costs are concerned, right now they're about the same. Once Diamond Age is able to automate additional processes in the build process, then the cost should come significantly down.
Okay, let's get to cost in just a second. Let's finish up and tie it out on product first, if you can. I not to beat a dead horse, but you know how offsite homes have that kind of, I don't know, kind of a rough shape and structure inside. Just to be clear, for a 3D printed home within at least an envelope and that basic size, you can do just anything you want, right?
No, that's right. I mean, first of all, modulars typically have to stay within that kind of 16 to 18 foot wide envelope for transportation regions.
Yeah.
And we don't have that constraint. We don't have to truck these homes anywhere. This is a factory in the field. We build these on site. And anything goes. I mean, exteriors can be finished in stucco, smooth plaster, siding, or masonry. Interiors are finished with plaster and can be either smooth or textured. These homes look like a traditional home, with the exception to deeper windowsills and door jambs, which I think is a selling feature. It looks more custom. They look great when you walk through them.
Because how thick are the walls? Just literally, how thick are they typically? The outside walls, let's say.
The walls are about 8 inches thick.
8 inches, okay.
Approximately.
Okay. And then in terms of, so they have that kind of concrete structure, of course, but on the outside, you can do whatever you want, anything at all, so that elevation can be whatever the hot style is in that market at that time.
That's exactly right.
I will be honest with you. It is much more varied and much more flexible, 3D printing is, than I realized. Are we going to see more custom-y? How custom-y, that's not a word, but let's pretend it is. How custom are we going to get with 3D? Will people be able to say, somebody with pretty deep pockets be able to say, hey, give me the home in The Simpsons or the home at the Flintstones? Because, I'm a huge fan. Will we get something like that?
You absolutely could, but that isn't really Century Communities or the Century Complete team's business model. We like to keep things really simple so we can offer we can keep our prices down and our quality high for our customers. But to answer your question, yes, you can get as custom-y as you want.
I'm just saying, think about it. Little Disney tie-in, Magic Castle. I'm just throwing it out there. Pinocchio's house. I don't know. Did he have a house? I'm not sure.
Not quite our thing, but yes. You could do it if you wanted to.
I think it'd be. Honestly, don't you think someone's going to do that in the not too distant future? Somebody, probably some Silicon Valley bro, is going to have some TV movie kind of a house. Don't you think?
Absolutely. You're going to look up on a hill in Silicon Valley and you're going to see the Jetsons house or the Iron Man house up there. Absolutely. 100%.
Oh, I can't wait. That'll be fun. So now let's scoot back into cost and those kinds of issues, because I know that's another one that when it comes up at 3D is the expectation is that there is going to be, at least eventually, a pretty significant cost benefit. Right now, the cost benefit with stick build, if I heard you right, is that it's roughly the same.
Yeah. As far as costs are concerned, they're about the same. But as I said, as Diamond Age automates additional build processes, the cost should come down significantly. They will come down significantly.
Okay. And that's the on-site, the vertical construction cost, right? You have nothing to do with any developments. Just the pure vertical construction costs are about the same as stick built for now.
That's right. Regardless of whether you traditionally built a home or 3D print a home, you still start with the same finished lot and the same foundation.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, that brings it up though. So the foundation is going to be very similar, despite that your 3D house is a little heavier. That's not going to have an impact on your foundation.
It's a little beefed up, but essentially for you and me looking at the foundation, it looks exactly the same.
Okay.
The biggest advantage though, Dean, is the cycle time. The cycle times are significantly faster. Our cycle times on our first 6 houses have been under 60 days. Our guess is in the next year to year and a half, that cycle time should come down to 45 days. Wow. And that will be a huge, not only savings in time, but also cost.
2 years, let's say before the supply chain disruption, what was the typical cycle time for a Century home, say 2019? In 2019, what was your stick built cycle time approximately for a Century home of a similar size?
I'd say 5 to 6 months in that market.
Okay. Yep. I would have guessed 4 to 6 months. So that's a huge time difference, isn't it?
Yep. Big time savings.
I mean, that's amazing. Are there, can there be hiccups in the timing because of, you mentioned a minute ago how the subs seem to be involved. Are there different kinds of potential hurdles that maybe stick built doesn't face, but 3D does face in that cycle time?
I mean, there could be, but so far we haven't seen an issue.
I'm trying to think of, I'm not sure what that would be. I mean, the process is fairly, I mean, it's highly technologically sophisticated, but it is actually, once you get the machine there and you're starting to printing, that's fairly straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, the more tools Diamond Age can create, the more automation they can bring into the build process, the simpler it gets, the more predictable it gets, the faster it gets, and the less expensive it gets.
Yeah, yeah. Things usually get better. Not everything. Mostly technology gets better and more expensive. After it gets cheaper and then more expensive. So are there any, I mean, you said there's the labor issues really aren't issues. You're finding it pretty easy. Get these folks trained. And then like you said, the windows, things like that, is their normal job. They're used to it. How about supply chain? You have a different, not necessarily this, the windows and things like that you have in common with stick built, but in terms specific to the 3D process, are there supply chain issues that you face?
I mean, the only really difference is the amount of concrete we use. So if we had a supply chain issue for concrete in a particular market, it would be an issue for this product. But again, so far there hasn't been an issue. And Phoenix actually has been relatively limited with regards to concrete over the last year or so, and it hasn't been an issue. So far, so good.
And you mentioned a minute ago how, at least in your Mountain View Estates development here coming out of the market very, very soon, it's going to be priced pretty, it sounds, I don't know the Phoenix market that well, but it's going to be priced very, very competitively, if not maybe even a little under its competition, do you think?
Or right at it. I mean, all 3 floor plans start in the high 200,000 range. So again, we're really, really excited to be offering this revolutionary, very special product to our customers for a very affordable price.
You can tell I'm based in California, so I have worked in Phoenix a few times, but not that often. So when you say $300,000, it's like, so that's an ADU, right? In our world.
No, Dean, I grew up in California. I'm with you on that one. Okay. I'm pretty surprised every single time we sell a house in the $200,000 range, but we do it a lot for Century Complete.
How about that other kind of big issue that's out in the housing market, in the housing industry, really as a whole right now, is things like sustainability, recycled waste materials, things like that. Is there a benefit for 3D along those lines?
Absolutely. There's very little waste in a Diamond Age build as compared to a traditional build. Diamond Age recycles waste concrete, and there are no dumpsters on the job site. So we've seen a significant reduction in waste and trash.
Really?
Through this build process.
It's like hiking. You have to carry out what you carry in, kind of a thing.
That's exactly right.
No dumpsters. Wow.
And when you only have a water bottle and a power bar, it's really easy to do that.
and you better put that wrapper in your backpack. Are you finding that an appeal? Will you emphasize that when you're marketing Mountain View Estates, for instance? Is that something that's going to be a part of your collateral and you're going to market on that basis?
I mean, we talk a little bit about sustainability, but mostly we talk about the benefits of the concrete composite walls, the energy efficiency, the incredible noise properties or noise reducing properties of the walls, being strong and durable, low maintenance cost. I mean, we talk about sustainable construction, but mostly we're talking about high quality construction and the livability and comfort of the homes. And you get all of that for that kind of traditional look and feel. It doesn't look space age. It looks like a house you grew up in. It's just incredibly strong, efficient, and quiet.
And last year, that Silicon Valley tycoon, and he wanted to look space age, then it might. I want dolphins in my living room, like 2010. So you mentioned that's energy efficient. Are there other benefits? Like is the circulation? Could you describe it as like a healthier house with respect to things like mold or circulation or stuff like that? Or is that sort of standard with stick built too?
Whenever you take out things like drywall and wood, things that absorb moisture and absorb water and replace it with concrete, something a little bit less porous, it's always a benefit.
Okay. Let's now shift over to consumers and how you market these and how consumers are accepting or not accepting, or if there's any wariness in the consumer world out there among home buyers, potential home buyers. Is there a marketing hurdle? Is it just something like just the pure newness of 3D printing? Is there something you are finding you have to sort of educate the potential home buyers out there about?
The only hurdle we have is how we're going to get our customers to understand the benefits of these homes, the energy efficiency, the noise reducing properties, the walls being incredibly strong and durable. Fortunately, they look exactly the same as a traditionally built house, so that's not an issue for us. It's more about the education of the benefits of the house so the consumers understand the differences between a 3D printed Diamond Age home and a traditionally built home.
But there's still going to be an acceptance phase. There's an acceptance phase for everything. And I mean, I assume you're just going to have to start building more of these as people walk these models and see them. They're going to realize, okay, yeah. But then aren't they going to have to, hear from other people that, oh, they really are. They've really saved me on my energy bill, that kind of thing. That'll take a little bit of time, won't it?
More than likely. I mean, you're going to have early adopters, like anything else, that will do the research and understand the technology and the science behind it, and go ahead and engage. And then you're going to have some people who are going to kind of wait and see.
On the noise factor, that's easy. You just hopefully you have two people there. You take one of them in one room, close the door. You take the other one in the other room, and then just blare a radio or something like that. And they come out and say, "Did you hear it?" And they say, "No, I didn't hear anything." And boom, sale.
That's exactly right. And in addition, you can go start your car outside and honk your horn and see how much more quiet it is inside in the house.
I was playing so loud. The car was vibrating. You didn't hear anything? That'll be good. So getting past these hurdles, I mean, are you actively, again, in your marketing materials, et cetera, are you addressing those kinds of concerns, head on in your marketing?
We absolutely are. Marketing and communicating with our customers and our broker community at a grassroots level will be the key to getting people to understand the benefits of these new homes in Mountain View Estates. 100%.
Now, I'm assuming, again, my lack of Phoenix market knowledge is shown here, but I'm pretty sure that the price points you're talking about this will be an entry level kind of price point at Mountain View Estates. Is that correct?
It will be. Or you could be coming from a resale home and want a new home with the energy efficiency properties of these Century Complete Mountain View Estate homes. So you can get either one. Is that what the focus is?
Sorry, is that what the focus is right now? Century Complete is your entry-level brand. Are you going to be focused on that niche within the housing market for a little while with 3D?
Yep. Our tagline for Century Complete is more home, less money, and these 3D printed homes align with that goal.
You don't want to use no one can hear you screaming in a 3D home? You don't want to use that? You can have it if you want to use that. It's my treat. Probably. When do you think 3D might hit let's say just the move up sector? Is that near term?
I mean, again, Century Communities and especially our Century Complete team are laser focused on building affordable homes. We'll continue to focus on building these groundbreaking new homes in Mountain View Estates and other communities in the Phoenix market before we consider incorporating this product into our move up markets or in our move up communities.
Okay.
It's probably going to be a little bit of time.
A little bit of time. Okay. Well, I mean, maybe this question is too soon, but do you think when 3D printing does sort of hit the move-up market, you might have to re-educate those folks because those folks typically have a little more flexibility in terms of what they buy. They have a little more choices, given different a higher price point. Do you think you'll have to sort of reteach that sector when that does occur?
I don't think so. These homes are incredibly flexible from a design standpoint and will look and feel just like the home you grew up in, only with increased energy efficiency and comfort and lower maintenance costs.
So let's continue this crystal ball look into the future. What do you think are the biggest technological hurdles to there being more 3D printed homes in the future?
I think the main issue will be the number of gantries and robotic tools that Diamond Age will be able to produce in the next year or two. Those two things will allow them to scale up very quickly so we can incorporate this product in more markets in Arizona and across the country. I mean, Diamond Age has developed about a third of the 26 robotic tools that they have in the works. So they're getting close. We believe in Diamond Age and look forward to them accomplishing their goal of replacing 60% of the manual labor required to build a single-family home with automation.
You mentioned two-story. We talked about that. You touched on that for a second. But do you have any sense of when the two-story world of 3D printing might be upon us?
I think late next year or early 2024, we would have started our first two-story home.
Wow. That's a lot faster than I thought you were going to say. So you'll still be doing two-story entry-level Century Complete homes. Do you think 3D printing might, though, invade the world of multifamily with the ability to go multi-stories?
I think so. As long as it fits in the ultimate construction envelope of approximately 65 feet by about 120 feet, it's entirely possible.
When we say 2 stories, though, are we thinking? I mean, could you do 3/4, like a 3-story garden-style apartment complex? Is that feasible to be 3D printed in the not too distant future?
I don't know. I'm really confident we'll have a two-story single family, 2-story townhouse,
Yeah.
but anything
Yeah.
more than 2-story may take a little bit longer.
Okay.
The limiting factor is the height of the gantry.
Really? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Well, then I mean, that seems like that's something that's solvable. I think
Yeah.
with my complete technological ignorance in that
I think
regard,
you're
but
right.
it seems like it is.
But I know Diamond Age is focused on other things like getting their suite of robotic
Yeah.
tools complete, getting that 2-story gantry done, and scaling up so we can be in more than just a couple communities at the same time.
So you're starting in Arizona. Do you have a sense of where Century Communities might be going to after Arizona with 3D printed homes?
Probably Texas and Florida. Texas is another great market for this product from a demographic standpoint. And it would actually be a lot of fun to showcase Diamond Age's incredibly strong composite wall system in a market that has extreme weather like Florida.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mentioned Florida with that wet weather, especially the process. If your cycle times are pretty close to the cycle times you get in Arizona, in Florida, that's a win.
Yeah, they should be no different.
What are there like tech and training and kind of label hurdles going forward? Like, for instance, will it be something different when you are doing 2-story homes? Do you think that'll be any kind of a constraint, or at least again another sort of the need to educate your subs and folks like that?
Again, I think getting over the production hurdles is going to be all about Diamond Age's ability to scale up and finish developing their suite of robotic tools. Like you said, a 2-story I don't think is going to be an issue. Once the gantries are designed and developed, printing a 2-story home is going to be very, very similar to printing a 1-story home.
Okay.
It's just a matter of how much that home are we able to automate quickly.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. I think 3D homes are. I said something about offsite, and offsite is an important part of the process. But 3D homes make just a tremendous amount of sense. We hope it's not like how virtual reality has kind of come and gone. It's going to be the next big thing, but it never quite is. Do you see 3D home as being kind of the next big thing? 3D printed homes?
I think it could be huge. There's no bigger opportunity today than the need for affordable housing. That's why we love our Century Complete brand and our partnership with Diamond Age.
Genji, I'm going to put you on the spot with a question. How I don't know, let's say 20 years, what is the market share of 3D printed homes of all newly constructed single family homes? Go.
20%.
Woo, nice. We're going to help you do that in 20 years. Episode 4,000 of the New Home Insights podcast by that point, we hope. Thank you a lot for educating us about 3D printed homes. It's a lot I didn't know, but that's always true for me. But this has been interesting. This is one topic that I do think we'll talk about again in the not too distant future, and will be a big part of that housing future.
Dean, it was a pleasure talking to you again. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Absolutely.
Look forward to talking to you again.
Right on. Sounds good, Genji. This has been the New Home Insights podcast. I'm your host, Dean Worley. We will see you again in a couple of weeks.